We can talk about volunteering, phone banking, voting. All that stuff is important. But in the meantime, our Constitution is being trampled. A coup is underway, and a dictatorship is being formed. This is no longer a time for normal politics. It is a time to stand up and resist.
You know, this voter is echoing the same thoughts and frustration that millions of Americans are feeling right now. Who is actually going to fight for working people in this country? Meanwhile,
so Schumer and 9 other Democrats voted to block filibuster and advance the Republican spending bill, a move that President Trump praised, saying he appreciates Senator Schumer and thinks he did the right things.
I appreciate Senator Schumer, and I think he did the right thing. Really, I'm very impressed by that.
Trump and the Republicans couldn't be happier that Senate Democrats led by Chuck Schumer just caved without even putting up a fight. Nobody wants a government shutdown, but what does it say about your party's leadership when they give away their only leverage this easily? Well, let's hear what at least some of the public is thinking.
Americans' favorable views of the Democratic Party's brand are at a record low, just 29%. That's compared to 36% for Republicans. It is the lowest ever recorded for Democrats in CNN polling, going back more than 30 years. The CNN SRSR's poll also found 57% of Democrats and Democratic-leaning voters are more interested in seeing their party leaders stop the GOP agenda, compared to 42% who are more interested in cutting bipartisan deals.
An all-time low in popularity. The latest NBC News national poll finds that a majority of registered voters, 55%, have a negative view of the party, while 27%, just over a quarter of registered voters, have a positive view of the party. That's the party's lowest rating in NBC News polling dating back to 1990.
27% of overall voters have a positive view of the Democratic Party. 65% of Democrats would prefer if the party stuck to their guns and not made legislative compromises.
But I think what voters are responding to is that they don't see the fight in Democrats.
And here's the thing. These polls were conducted before the government shutdown fight. So are these results better than expected, or are they even worse than we thought? Either way, it's clear. Voters see the Democratic Party as weak. And now even elected Democrats are sounding the alarm.
The Republicans have the White House, the Senate, and the House. If they want to do this, and if they want to screw over the American people, they can do this with their votes and their party.
Do you think Senate Democrats should replace Chuck Schumer?
I think Senate Democrats have to sit down and take a look and decide whether or not Chuck Schumer is the one to lead in this moment. There are a lot of people that are watching his leadership in this moment. This is the moment. We don't even know what elections will look like in 4 years, if we will have elections. And so I definitely think that younger, fresher leadership may be something that many of us, not just depending on what part of the spectrum you're on, but many Americans may be looking for, especially in the state of New York.
And I think the fact that the leader said one thing and then within 24 hours did an about face, it just looked pathetic. And it is a betrayal.
Chuck and I disagreed as it relates to the approach and outcome relative to what we viewed as a reckless Republican spending bill.
In all fairness, House Democrats did unite and refused to cave to the Republicans. So what's happening in the Senate? Because this makes the takes from Senators Chris Murphy and Sheldon Whitehouse that much more interesting.
I understand the decision that many of my Democratic colleagues made, but I think the American people want us to take risks right now in order to save our democracy.
Do you think that Leader Schumer is the best person to lead your caucus in this moment?
Senator Schumer certainly can lead this caucus.
Is he the best person?
He can lead this caucus, but we need to have a conversation inside the caucus about whether we are willing to stand up to Republicans. So if you are a Democrat in the Senate or in the House, you have to start acting with urgency. And that is the conversation that we have to start having inside our caucus.
So they were both extremely dangerous options. And my view is that as Democrats, we need to stop the intramural quarreling about who voted what way and get back to work saving our democracy. I think what we need to do is stop the intramural fighting and bleeding as quickly as we can. We are in a fight for our democracy right now, and if we're having a fight in our dugout, we're not out on the field and the other team is scoring runs. So everybody needs to have their say. Everybody needs to, respond to their own passions and emotions. But as soon as we can, we've got to get back on the field and fight Trump and Musk and MAGA.
Let's compare. Chris Murphy is clearly torn, but he seems to think that Democrats can win over voters by showing how irresponsible and chaotic Trump's party is. Sheldon Whitehouse, on the other hand, is warning Democrats not to be passive. And honestly, this is the tension in the party right now. One side wants to fight. The other wants to wait for Trump to self-destruct. We already tried that strategy, and it didn't work.
This turns the federal government into a slush fund for Donald Trump and Elon Musk. It sacrifices congressional authority, and it is deeply partisan. And so to me, it is almost unthinkable why Senate Democrats would vote to hand the few pieces of leverage that we have away for free when we've been sent here to protect Social Security, protect Medicaid.
Now, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is being floated as a potential replacement for Schumer and his spineless leadership. I have to ask, why not? The people who actually fight for working people in this country are few and far between, and AOC has shown she is willing to go to battle. So why shouldn't she be in leadership?
The main thing we need is constituents in states like New York, constituents in all the places where the senators voted with Republicans on this continuing resolution.
Both New York senators did, Gillibrand and Schumer.
Also. We need people to stand up, go to their offices, make calls. You can join a group like Indivisible, Move On, Working Families Party, the DSA. There are many groups getting involved, and I think that Democratic leaders need to hear way more from their constituents. They snatched the ball from grassroots Democrats on this. Grassroots Democrats were ready to make a play here, ready to march in one direction. And Hakeem Jeffries had the House unified around something. And then Chuck Schumer divided Democrats. And now we're spending today all over the news talking about Chuck Schumer's surrender, his blunder, instead of talking about what Elon Musk is doing to the government.
That's the question. If Democrats don't fight, Trump and the GOP steamroll on. So do you let that happen, or do you stand up and take the fight to him? What we do know is Donald Trump isn't waiting around. So what's the move?